Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing well. Hope things are great for you this summer as we podcast through the summer months. Are you taking a break? Are you podcasting still? Let me know. howtopodcast.ca. I'd love to hear what your plans are. Do you take summer holidays? I'd love to hear from you. SpeakPipe's right there. You can reach me anytime. I'd love to know what you're doing in your podcast. If I don't know about you yet, I want to. And I'd love to listen to your show as well. So reach out, tell me about your show. Let's promote you on the podcast. I'd love to put little blurbs and little features in the show, which bring people to you. I have a great audience. Super amazing people listen to the show. I'm thrilled. And they are very supportive of podcasters like you. So if you want your podcast promoted on the show, it's simple. Just reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Leave me a little SpeakPipe voicemail, and I'll put you right in here where you can talk about your show. Well, okay, here's an example, just to give you an idea of what I'm looking for. Here's a podcaster, a friend of mine, through our meetups and his show. Here we go.
Hi, I'm David Beckmeyer out here in California, USA. I'm the host of Outrage Overload, a science podcast where we explore the roots of outrage and offer strategies to stay calm in a polarized world. Regarding the weekly meetups, I've been attending these for some time now. And, I've made an observation and it's, taken time to see this and see how this works. But, in informing this observation, I do want to say that, I have quite a bit of experience with, building teams, running big teams. I've had hundreds of people working for me and built companies, all this stuff. So I only say that to say that maybe this observation carries some weight. But one observation I've found here is Dave is kind of masterful at how he helps us. And he also that carries then forward to a lot of the rest of us pick up on that and some sort of follow through with some of that same practice. But, he's never particularly direct. I mean, I guess if somebody had some certain kinds of situations, he might be. But for the most part, what he does is learn about what folks are doing. And he really puts time into, checking out their shows and what work they're doing and learning about those people. And then, us, the group, and the folks in the group. And then, what he'll do is he'll incorporate some of the things that maybe he sees something in a show that, oh, this person is doing that. And maybe that's not the best idea. And instead of, jumping down that person's throat or really telling them that they're making this big mistake, he'll incorporate into one of his episodes, maybe later, something about that aspect of things. And then we learn along the way that, yeah, that's an interesting thing that I'm probably doing that maybe I shouldn't be doing anymore. And I think he provides help like that in a very subtle way. And it, moves everyone forward. And, Dave, you may not be able to use this part, but I'll clean up this joke. But it very much reminds me of the old joke about the two bulls are sitting at top of a hill and they're looking down and there's a bunch of cows at the bottom of the hill. And the young bull says, "Hey, let's run down there and date all those cows." And the older one says, "Why don't we walk down there and date them all?" Thanks, Dave.
So that's for our meetups. Thank you, Mr. Beckmeyer. That's for our meetups. Happy to have you come join us there. That's another thing we do outside of the podcast. We do all this for you, and we do it for free. There's no funnel. There's no money transaction here. It's just because we love you and we love podcasting. And we want more podcasters to fall in love with podcasting. You're going to hear a bunch of other podcasts about podcasting, and they're going to hard sell you on something. I got to tell you, they got a book, a course, a program, 5 easy payments, all of these things. And what do we have? None of those things here. And that's what I think makes our show a little different. And the fact that we bring in other people with different opinions, different perspectives on podcasting, different approach. They take maybe different tools that they use, video, not video, audio only, video only, YouTube, whatever. And we learn together as a group. And you get to pick what works for you because there are no rules. And there's no one way in podcasting. Despite what all of those gurus are trying to sell you, there isn't. So come to our meetup. It's totally free. Thank you, Dave Beckmeyer. Let's move on with the show. So speaking of YouTube, on YouTube, I've created little playlists. I'm trying to group together like episodes into a playlist of their own so that you don't have to go through 700 plus episodes and try to navigate and find things that you're looking for. So this episode is part of a series that I'm doing scattered throughout my podcast. I call it the Behind the Mic series. And it's designed on helping you as a creative podcaster to get better on the mic. It's all about you. It's not about your guest. It's not about your audience. It's not about growing your show. It's not about making money with your show. It's not about whether or not you should have episode numbers in the title of your show, whatever. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about you getting better on the mic. And I lean on experts. I lean on research and pulling in stuff that's going to help you to be better as a podcaster, to connect better, to use your voice, to understand your voice. A lot of people I talk to, they've never done this before. And the whole idea of turning on a microphone and putting your voice into the world is a little daunting. So if we can find resources and tools and people that can speak life into you and encourage you, that's what this is. So this episode is part of that mini series called Behind the Mic. You can see all of those episodes grouped together on my YouTube channel. On your podcast app of choice, Spotify, whatever you're listening on, there's probably like a little search thing you can do within the podcast itself. That also might work. But if you want to get the list curated on YouTube, I know not everybody uses YouTube, but for your sake of finding the episodes that you're looking for, then go and check out the YouTube channel and look up the playlist for the Behind the Mic series. And you'll find this episode and all the other ones grouped together to help you to be a better podcaster. Behind the Mic. It's right there. And why has it got the word series in it? Because the show is called the How to Podcast series. Hello. Go check it out. So the idea behind this episode came to me because I was dealing with a podcaster. We were working together on their show, and they were really struggling as a new creative person in podcasting because of their voice and feeling like they just didn't have the sound that people equate with people on the radio or on podcasting or out there in the world using their voice for good. And they're like, Dave, I've never done this before. I'm an author. I like to write. But the idea of talking by myself into a microphone and putting it out into the world for everybody to nitpick at is not something I'm really interested in doing. But I want a podcast. So they're really struggling with how am I going to do this when I'm not a big fan of my own voice? And what we kind of discussed was for this person, and when I was talking with them, I was thinking of you, is that we need to stop judging our podcast and start studying our podcast, whether we have one episode or 100 episodes. We need to stop judging it, and we need to start studying it and learning from what we're doing as a podcaster. I've challenged them to record some test episodes. This person's brand new to podcasting. They're an author, published author. They've written many books. They are really good with pen and paper, right? They can write, and they're just fantastic. But the idea of using their voice is a lot different than using their hand to write. They're using their voice to speak, and that's a totally different thing for this person. And they're quite introverted. They're not really out there, and so this is a big hill to climb for them. So I've encouraged them to record some test episodes. These may never go out to the world ever. We just share them back and forth between us. I listen to them. I give them some feedback. I ask them to try a couple different things and improve, and we go from there. We're building up confidence, a skill set. We're building up muscle memory, and we're learning as we go. So that's where we're starting with this person. They're not even launched yet. They have an idea. They've done all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but they haven't recorded anything, and they haven't released anything to the world yet because they're just not ready. And you know what? That's fine. Buying a microphone doesn't make you a podcaster. Walking into Kentucky Fried Chicken doesn't make you a chicken. Right? Just because you're there, just because you have the gear doesn't make you whatever you want to be. It takes time. You got to learn. You got to grow. You got to test it. You got to figure it out. And in that process, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. So that's what they're doing. They're doing some test episodes. I challenge them to listen back to these test episodes and make some critical judgments of themselves in a loving way to themselves and figure out what they're hearing and if they're happy with it. Now, I've heard podcast gurus say this about other podcasters, new podcasters, telling them that their show is terrible. Idea is terrible. Name of the show is terrible. Their voice on the microphone is terrible. Their edits are terrible. Too much this, too much that. And they just rip them apart. And those are the podcast gurus you need to avoid. Don't get that here. We don't do that. But then I also hear people beating themselves up about what they hear on the mic. And they're like, that was just terrible. That was horrible. This recording I did, I'm not happy with this. And It just makes my stomach turn. That was just terrible. When I hear people say that their podcast episode, their recording, their voice is terrible, I push back a little bit and say, you're asking yourself and saying the wrong things to yourself in this moment. The goal isn't to decide whether you're a good podcaster. The goal is to become a better one. The first thing I want you to do is prepare yourself before you evaluate yourself. Prepare yourself before you evaluate yourself. Don't judge an episode on a rushed process to get you out and get the recording out and just do what you got with where you are. You're just going to put it out there. I'm not even going to listen to it. I'm just going to record and put it out. You haven't invested any time in the process. You haven't invested in yourself. You haven't had any feedback. You haven't learned anything. You're just in reactive mode. I want this podcast out, and I'm just going to record it and put it out as is. That's fine. You can do that, and that's a starting point. Anybody can do that. That's fine. But if you want a podcast that resonates with people, makes a great first impression, you're going to do some work behind the scenes. It's like anybody in sports, anybody in music, anybody in acting or writing. We get feedback. We put something out, and we get people to say, yeah, no. And then we go back and fix it. Authors do this all the time. They don't just sit down and write perfection from the moment they start to the moment they finish. They get feedback. They get a lot of criticism, and they open themselves up to that. And they allow people to speak into them and make their work better. Why are podcasters so adverse to this? Thinking, well, I bought a mic, so I'm a podcaster. No, you bought a mic and you own a mic. That's it. That's it. That's all you are. You can buy the best oven in the world. Doesn't make you a chef. No. You got to learn how to cook. And the same thing happens in podcasting. Just because you own the equipment, you've made a purchase on Amazon, doesn't make you a podcaster yet. But you can get there. You can become a great chef and enjoy all the perks of that brand new oven you bought. But you're going to have to go to school and learn how to become a chef. It doesn't just happen naturally. A lot of us have to put a lot of work into this. So first thing, prepare before you evaluate. Don't judge your episode on being rushed to do it and create it. It's not the best result. Give yourself a fair chance before you become your own toughest critic. Practice. It takes a lot of at-bats before you can hit a home run. It takes a lot of golf swings before you can land that hole-in-one on the PGA. It takes a lot of throwing darts at the ceiling before you hit the dartboard. Right? A lot of these things take time. And I find that a lot of podcasters that I meet are rushing to the finish line, but not enjoying the run. We got to enjoy the run. That's where you're going to see things. That's where you're going to learn a lot about yourself and where you're going to push through the pain. Don't skip to the end of the line too quickly. You're not going to learn anything. So don't be in a hurry to get to the end. Next, separate your identity, your own personal identity, from your podcast. Your podcast is something that you create. It's not who you are. You put a lot of yourself into it. People get a behind-the-scenes look of who you are as a person through a podcast. Yeah, that makes sense. But you are not your podcast. You and your podcast are two separate things. When you listen back, imagine that you're producing someone else's show. You're listening to somebody else's podcast, and then listen with curiosity instead of criticism. Here's where a lot of gurus fall into this pit. Is they listen out of criticism. They come to every podcast that they evaluate, and they want to be critical. They're like a critic, like a movie critic, trying to pull out all the things that make this movie, I don't like it. And that's how they approach their coaching. And I find that to be quite hurtful and not productive at all. I come from a point of being curious about what you're building and curious about you and not critical. That's how I approach all of my coaching that I do for my podcasters that I work with, is we come from a place of curiosity and not criticism. Ask yourself, what skill would improve this episode for the next time? Maybe your pacing feels a bit rushed. I worked with one podcaster, and this woman, when she podcast, it sounded like she was running down a hill at full speed with a microphone attached to her, trying to carry on a conversation. She didn't breathe. Like I was hyperventilating just listening. I had to grab a paper bag just to calm myself down, because she just wouldn't take a breath. And it might have been how she was editing the show, removing all the gaps, but my gosh, it just felt like from the moment you press play, you were watching like a NASCAR race go zipping by 100 miles an hour. You're like, zoom, 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 zoom. You're like, what is going on here? For her, we had to get her to slow down. Just slow it down, because her audience was just being turned off by the speed of the words coming from her mouth. And it was, when we unpacked it together, it was because she was just nervous and she felt like she had to perform. And being a professional speaker, that's how she spoke from stages. And I'm like, if you just slow down, then people can catch up with you, and people will be in step with you than being 10 steps behind you. And you're going to connect better with your audience. She's been putting this stuff into practice, and now on stage, she's finding that there's more opportunities now to connect with the audience because she's just slowed down. That could be all you need to do. And just focus on your speed. Maybe you're just too fast in your pacing. Maybe your questions could have gone a little deeper, like you're just too surface, too easy. Maybe your transitions are way too abrupt, or your storytelling wanders off the path into unknown territory, and you never come back to the real story, the real main point. Or your audio consistency is so off the charts. One episode is really good. The next episode, it sounds like you're 5 miles away. And you're like, well, why is it not the same? Well, every time you're reinventing the wheel. Pick something, get feedback, get good instruction, and then stick with it. Don't make any changes and build upon that. That could be all it is. These are all skills. This is separate from who you are as a person. This is how you approach podcasting. This is your technology. This is the way that you format your show and how you deliver your questions and how you interact with your audience. These are not you. These are skills within your podcast. Separate for yourself from your podcast. You are not your podcast. Keep that in mind. Just remember, all as we go through this, skills can be learned, skills can be unlearned. So bad skills, bad things you're doing can be easily replaced with good skills. Anytime. The moment you replace I'm a bad podcaster with I need to improve on my interview techniques, or I need stronger episode openings, you've given yourself something that you can actually work on. It's not kind of out there in the cloudy, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. It's specific. It's measurable. It's something that you can focus on. And the last part here is, as podcasters, we don't just listen to the symptoms around our podcast creation and what we do as a creative. A boring podcast episode isn't always caused by a boring topic or a boring delivery. Low listener retention isn't always because your audience has short attention spans. Few downloads don't automatically mean that your content lacks value. Those are all symptoms. Look for the conditions that are creating the symptoms. If listeners leave after 3 minutes, maybe your introduction takes too long. It's simple. Again, this is not you, it's your podcast. If conversations feel flat, perhaps you're asking questions that invite short answers instead of stories. Maybe you're over-prepared and there's no curiosity left in your podcast because you know all the answers before your guest even answers, because you've studied them inside and out. You know everything they're going to say and you can anticipate it, and there's no curiosity left anymore. Maybe that's it. If your episodes sound inconsistent, your recording workflow may need attention more than your microphone. Your microphone might be fine. Maybe it's just how you're using it. The real breakthrough happens when you stop chasing the symptoms and you start improving on the systems and the habits and the techniques that create better episodes. Every recording that you do as a podcaster is feedback. Every episode teaches you something about you, your show, your audience. You're going to learn something all the time. The podcasters I've worked with who grow the fastest aren't the ones who never cringe when they listen back to themselves. They're the ones who listen objectively. They identify one skill to improve. They adjust the process behind the problem, and then they press record again and again and again. Micro adjustments, little tweaks, getting better all the time and working their way towards a better version of themselves and their show. That's how better podcasts are built. One thoughtful improvement at a time. This can really help you with your podcast if you put it into place and if you open yourself up to curiosity and not criticism. If you're looking for somebody to give you a curious response to your podcast, listen through your show and come back with curiosity and challenge you on some of the things you're doing in your show that could make your show better, have better impact, better for you, better for your audience, better for your guests. Reach out to me. I'd love to help you with that. So let's shift our focus then from being self-critical to being self-conscious and also working towards continuous improvement, which is where the biggest gains in podcasting are made. Listening back isn't about proving that you're good enough to be a podcaster. It's about discovering the next skill that will make your next episode even stronger. It's time to get better at podcasting. And if you need help with this, howtopodcast.ca, I'd love to help you. Let's get together and chat and see what we can do together. Here all the time from a place of curiosity, not criticism. Howtopodcast.ca. Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to the end of the podcast. You're here with me. I'm so grateful. I want to put something in front of you. For the person that's listened this far, you're my new best friend. So what I'm trying to do every month is I have a goal. And you can help me with this goal. Very simple. What I'm trying to do is have 5 conversations this month with listeners of the How to Podcast series. You don't have to have a podcast to respond. This can be the first time ever that we're going to have a conversation, but I'm looking to talk to 5 people. Now, you're still here, so you're one of the people that I would love to talk to next. So on my howtopodcast.ca website is a calendar. And I'd love to have you respond on howtopodcast.ca. Just click the calendar link, set up time in my calendar, and in the comments section for the meeting, just put something like listener. That's it. If you have a show, put it in the comments too so I can go listen. But if you don't, I just want to talk to 5 listeners every month. From now to the end of the month. So if you're listening to me right now, you're the person I want to talk to. And through howtopodcast.ca, you and I can get together, chat about the show, chat about your journey as a podcaster. Where are you at? What do you need the show to become for you? What's missing? Your feedback. I just want to meet you. And as podcasters, I would encourage you to do something similar to this in your podcast so that you can meet and interact with your audience. So, howtopodcast.ca, I'm looking to talk to 5 people every month, and I would love for you to be one of them. Reach out. It's free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to talk to you at howtopodcast.ca. Let's get in the calendar and chat. Thanks for listening. You're still here? Great. Okay, this is bonus stuff at the end of the episode, just for people like you who just decided to stick around to the end. I want to honor you and I want to thank you for proving to the app of your choice that this podcast has got enough meaning to keep you to the end. That's not common in podcasting. For those who don't understand podcasting, a lot of people leave within the first few minutes of an episode. And when a podcast is counted as a listen or a download or whatever you want to call it now, they go by now 30 seconds to a minute is counted as a listen. So people, I would have got a stat for this episode. If you only listened to up to 60 seconds, I would have got a mark saying someone listened to the show. Whoopee! Like a minute of episode counts as a listen. That just seems like a quick spiral to the bottom. But the fact that you're here means something important to me and to the show and to the app. So thank you. I appreciate that. You've done more for me than any review or like or any of that stuff just by being here. So thank you for doing that. And if you enjoy other podcasts from other creators, doing this for them as well will really help their show. It really will, because retention is one of the best ways to keep track of an audience that's engaged. So that's it. That's the whole thing that I wanted to share with you is encourage your listeners as a podcaster to listen to the end of the episode and try to do something creative near the end that causes people to listen. Some people will put all the bloopers, which is fine, but listening to your worst of is not really an encouragement unless I really like listening to people fail. Doesn't really keep me around much. I want to get the best of you, not the worst of you, personally. That's my choice as a listener. So I kind of skip those. They're funny for a while, but week after week, episode after episode of bloopers, get a little tiresome. I like the best of you. So give me something extra, something that connects us at the end of the episode. Do something. Maybe there's a bonus question that you asked your guest. You keep it out of the episode itself. You say goodbye, you do the thing, and you put that bonus question at the very end, after the podcast, after the goodbyes. And you put that little extra piece. Think of it going to a movie and they start rolling the credits. At the end of the movie, people stand up, step all over popcorn and spilled pop all over the floor. And they're making their way out of the door. And as the credits are rolling up and you see who ran the camera and who held the microphone and who turned on the lights for the movie, all of a sudden the screen goes dark and a new movie starts showing. Everyone else is kind of leaving and you sit back down. You're like, wait, what is going on? There's another thing to watch. Yeah, that's what this is. So do that for your show and you'll have people listen longer. The more people listen and the longer they listen, the more your show's going to grow. It's just built into it. The apps want people to stay longer. So you being here right now proves to this app right now, whatever you're listening on, that this show is worth sticking around for. Do that for your show and your show will grow in depth, in connection, in community with the people who really matter. The people that were here for the first minute, thank you for your download. Thank you for your listen. I appreciate you. But they left. Is that really where I want to build my world? Or do I want to build my world on you? We're still here right now. You're the person I want to reach, and you're the person I want to talk to at howtopodcast.ca. And no one else is hearing this because they already left. You're still here. So please reach out to me. Let's talk. I'd love to connect with you as soon as possible. Howtopodcast.ca. Speak back and forth. Virtual coffee together, or we can chat podcasting. Calendar's right there. Howtopodcast.ca. You and me. We need to talk. Thanks for being here.